I was sitting in Miss S. Baker's third period mathematics class when police officers with firearms entered the room and arrested me. I was sent to jail for about 60 days. Chaos was the foundation of Jesse James's empire. He became one of the most viewed men in America because to Monster Garage. However, everything fell apart in 2010. He was publicly humiliated after his marriage to Sandra Bullock terminated. At the worst conceivable time, a Nazi photo from 2004 came to light. While 19 women came out with stories, he entered a recovery facility. After 18 years, West Coast Choppers shut down. The man who previously converted a PT Cruiser into a wood chipper is no longer with us. What caused the cancellation of 2 comeback series after only 3 episodes each? The response is more bizarre than anyone anticipated. Long before he ever touched a welding flame, Jesse James's name sparked interest. He was born in Linwood, California on April 19, 1969. It was a common rumor that he was related to the first outlaw, Jesse James, who was born in 1847, robbed railroads, and died in 1882. Although Jesse was portrayed in the myth as having come from dust and peril, he never provided the James Preservation Trust with a family tree or DNA. As a result, the assertion remained unsubstantiated, and the aura of mystery followed him through magazines and interviews. Nevertheless, Jesse continued to use the name with a sort of subdued pride, as though the legend encouraged him to create his own wildlife rather than using someone else's. Long before he recognized how far it would carry him, that early combination of mystique and unyielding confidence formed him. He grew up in a noisy, oily, and metal-filled Riverside. Jesse and his sister Julie went in with their father, who operated a warehouse full of motorcycle parts and antiques after his parents divorced when he was in elementary school. The room had a rusty, oily scent, and Jesse spent hours exploring the dusty shelves and vintage motorcycles, studying how everything came together. He got his first mini bike when he was 7. Music, was welding improvised exhaust systems and bending pipes in his mother's garage by high school. He learned from every error. He was getting closer to an existence he didn't fully comprehend with each spark. He lived in the warehouse, but it was more than that. It was his first time attending school. Later in life, metal felt natural in his hands because of it. He believed that football would be his future for a while. At Riverside City College, after attending Liera High School, he gave the game his complete attention. Coaches recalled him as aggressive and tough. He was the type of player that continued to play despite his pain. But 2 serious injuries put an end to that goal. His knee went out first. Before he could make something of the sport he loved, he was pulled from the field by another injury. He was devastated to lose football, but the fortitude he gained there stayed with him. He entered metalwork with the same unyielding zeal. As soon as his sports route ended, he served as a security for bands like Soundgarden, Glenn Danzig, and Slayer in the early 1990s. For a while, the work seemed exciting, but it also required size and stable nerves. However, a shoulder injury also closed that door, leaving him stuck and searching for a different path. Everything started to fall into place after that moment, which led him back to motorcycling. He established West Coast Choppers in 1992, setting up a modest office in his mother's garage. Although it wasn't easy, the transition from protecting rock stars to creating machines was sincere. It propelled him in the direction of a destiny he was not yet aware he was creating. His garage developed into a separate universe as the nines progressed. When he started West Coast Choppers, he was 23 years old and occasionally slept on the floor since he worked until dawn. He had very little money, just some simple tools, and a desire to create bikes that had a sense of life. He moved into a rented garage in 1994. After 2 years, a small group of people assisted him in molding metal into the shape he had imagined. The early fight was never ending. Bills were piling up. Slowly, orders came in. But Jesse's inner demon wouldn't give up. His unwavering work ethic carried him into 1997 when a Discovery Channel documentary made his motorcycles the talk of the town. By 2001, the business employed over 50 people in a huge workshop. He persisted in grinding even when nothing seemed to move, which allowed him to ascend from a garage corner to a flourishing empire. His bikes were immediately recognized. Unlike the chrome-heavy types that were popular at the time, they didn't glitter. Rather, they appeared bare, elongated, and devoid of extraneous elements. They seemed brave and robust, as if they were designed for those who didn't give a damn about fashion. By 2003, the Iron Cross emblem had evolved into a sort of banner for celebrities and rebels seeking authenticity. Each tank was manually shaped. Each frame was constructed for a single rider. His creations created space for something more rugged and challenged the music-refined world of popular custom bikes. Charm was not the style's goal. It was intended to strike you. He purposely kept the brand unique. Only around 20 bikes were produced annually by West Coast Choppers. Customers had to wait months for their turn, and prices ranged from $60,000 to $150,000. Something rare felt more valuable, Jesse thought, and his tactic worked. By 2004, the business was generating millions of dollars while remaining small enough for Jesse to have a say in each build. People's desire for the bikes increased due to their scarcity. He was able to steer clear of mass manufacturing and maintain the shop's focus on craftsmanship rather than factories. His clientele quickly rose to prominence in the sports and entertainment industries. A bike made to Shaquille O'Neal's size was ordered. Kid Rock frequently displayed his vehicles. People that desired something that reflected themselves, like Ty Law, Bill Goldberg, and Keanu Reeves, entered Jesse's universe. West Coast Choppers became a symbol of cool because of those prominent builds. Jesse became as well known as his bikes thanks to interviews, magazines, and TV shows. The Guggenheim Museum then made contact. They intended to exhibit his motorcycles as works of contemporary art. That would have been the highest validation for the majority of builders. Jesse said no. Under headlights, he didn't want his bikes to remain still. He desired for them to be traveling and consuming miles. That rejection reverberated across the motorcycling and art communities, further solidifying Jesse's reputation as an outcast. His legend was shaped by that occasion. everything altered once more in 2000 with the premiere of Motorcycle Mania on the Discovery Channel. Jesse wasn't playing along. He wasn't polished. He was a frantic mechanic who lived a fast-paced lifestyle while attempting to maintain his store. People admired that candor. Millions of people watched the show, and it spawned a whole genre of reality TV that concentrated on builders. He was playing alongside Kid Rock in Motorcycle Mania 3 by 2002. In a matter of years, he went from being a local shop welder to an international celebrity due to his newfound renown. Monster Garage made its debut in the same year. Every episode challenged Jesse and his group to transform everyday cars into crazy machines in under 7 days. A wood chipper was a PT Cruiser. A Mustang was transformed into a real grass-cutting lawnmower. Jesse demolished a build on camera if it didn't work. Fire, explosions, and broken metal. The audience was unable to turn away. The show became a cultural hit with over 2 million viewers each week. Every episode was surprising because of his fury, his meticulousness, music, and his readiness to discard everything that didn't live up to his expectations. He started Pay Up Sucker Productions during that period, and in 2006, he shot Iraq Confidential. Jesse persisted, but Discovery was concerned about the dangers and didn't think it matched his previous tone. He visited Iraq, made music, spent time with soldiers, and shocked viewers by sharing their stories honestly. It revealed a different side of him, one molded by gravity rather than rage. There were catastrophes at Monster Garage. When the engine caught fire, belts burnt, and hydraulic pumps failed, the Cadillac hearse construct, known as the Grim Ripper, collapsed. Jesse became so irate that he used a propane tank to blow up the hearse after dragging it to Terminal Island. One of the show's pivotal moments, the explosion, astounded the audience. His outbursts became well known. He shouted. He smashed tools. He immediately sacked employees. All of it stemmed from a fixation with pushing boundaries and a dislike of failure. The crew was under a lot of strain, but when it did work, the outcomes were remarkable. A few builds were notable for their outrageous ambition. When it was done, the enormous and dangerous school bus rock climber crawled over rocks like a monster. The Chevy Impala Zamboni build gained popularity among fans because, prior to its actual resurgence, the concept sounded absurd. Those instances demonstrated the power of imagination combined with mechanics. The episode that was shot at the Texas School for the Deaf came next. Jesse's edges were smoothed by working with students. Anyone who had witnessed his explosions in the garage would have been shocked by his calm as he led them through the construction of a rat rod. In addition to giving Jesse an opportunity to demonstrate that the work was about more than simply steel and motors, the project provided the children confidence. It was about people, too. By 2006, Jesse James had established a reputation for creating some of the world's most outrageous bespoke motorcycles. But behind that gleam, the truth took a completely different turn. Every bike leaving West Coast choppers carried a loss, and this became more evident the more people dug. He acknowledged it himself, stating that they most likely lost money on each motorcycle they produced. A hand-built chopper may cost up to $100,000 to build. Thus, just one line showed how the mathematics operated behind the scenes. The store only survived for 18 years because other facets of his expanding business continued to support it, even if the selling price frequently came closer to $60,000 or $70,000. In reality, what appeared to be a motorbike company was a branding tool that helped customers accept the West Coast Chopper brand. That odd equilibrium propelled the shop forward while the business side gradually bowed under the weight of those losses, despite the fact that each bike pushed the company more into the red. The unexpected thing was that Jesse continued to construct in spite of this, as though the art were more important than the money. Something else exploded while the motorcycles were struggling to make ends meet. At first, it was quiet, but suddenly it became a movement that even Jesse was not prepared for. Instead of motorcycles, items accounted for almost 60% of West Coast customers' income. The well-known cross emblem was used on belt buckles, footwear, and shirts sold at Walmart shops nationwide. Furthermore, the numbers increased above what the bikes could possibly produce. Walmart once sold $100 million worth of goods in 60 days, all of which were connected to $21.99 shirts. That was the company's true engine. Every t-shirt sold helped the brand become more well-known because fans bought into the criminal persona. The goods line got so strong that it became the cornerstone of the entire empire and compensated for the shop's losses. It kept the dream alive and the lights on. Something interesting happened when the clothes flew off the shelves. The actual products were created using Jesse's visage and the brand. People would purchase the image put on commonplace products, even though they might never purchase a personalized motorcycle. The Maltese cross served as the inspiration for that emblem, which is sometimes confused with the Iron Cross, and has gained widespread recognition outside of the motorcycle community. Every time Jesse made an appearance on programs like Monster Garage, the brand gained more recognition. Even after the store closed in 2010, the brand continued to grow through retail partnerships and licensing agreements. West Coast choppers, music, motorcycles were seen by everyone, but everything that was constructed around them provided the funding. Long before he started selling bikes, it was evident that Jesse was selling emotions. Business success rarely happens without hiccups, and Jesse immediately encountered a significant lawsuit that brought the garment empire to a close. In 2010, Fortune Fashions Industries filed a lawsuit against him, alleging that he stole music, important workers, and ideas, and excluded them from the Walmart transaction. They insisted that they had played a key role in creating the popularity of the product, and sought damages exceeding $6 million. Jesse said that he had been selling branded clothing for a long time prior to any collaboration. The jury decided that Fortune Fashions was not entitled to the money after a protracted battle. The entire case demonstrated how strong the apparel industry had become and how many people were vying for a share of it. It also exposed the connection between Jesse's image as an outlaw and actual behind-the-scenes music corporate conflicts. Jesse's days were not at all simple, despite his increasing notoriety and wealth. Few witnessed the 16-hour workdays that kept things together, but many saw the TV personality. He oversaw staff welded through the night and appeared on camera at dawn. He persevered through lawsuits, TV schedules, corporate decisions, and never-ending shop demands because of that relentless grind. Year after year, the strain increased until the store eventually closed in 2010, and Jesse took a back seat. There was silence in the Long Beach estate that had once characterized his reign. The difference between the man behind the welding mask and the man on TV became more obvious as his relocation to Texas felt like a getaway from the mayhem. The hard effort had never been replaced by fame in music. For a time only, it concealed it. Over the years, Jesse's private life alternated between private obscurities and public upheavals. His 1991 marriage to Carla James was hardly unnoticed. After 11 years of marriage, they produced 2 kids, Chandler and Jesse Jr. Nevertheless, the world hardly knew anything about that time. Following their divorce in 2002, Carla stayed out of the spotlight, shunned interviews, and even briefly resided in a guest home on Jesse's property. The marriage became one of the most enigmatic aspects of his life because of such silence. Once the spotlight found him, it was almost as if he wanted that entire chapter to end. He entered a new marriage shortly after the last one dissolved, which thrust him into a whole different realm. He wed Janine Lindemulder, a well-known adult cinema performer with an explosive presence, in October 2002. Their romance was fast-paced, intense, and ended abruptly. Sunny, their daughter, was born before their 2004 divorce. Drug abuse, unstable behavior, and neglect were all alleged during the ensuing custody battle. The courts considered all of the allegations that Janine had abandoned Sunny while she slept throughout the day. When Janine spent 6 months in federal prison in 2009 for tax evasion, the situation became even more unstable. After Jesse assumed complete custody, the argument only intensified. Janine attempted to reclaim custody after being released, but the conflict descended into chaos. According to Jeremy Aman, her ex-husband, in 2010, Jesse persuaded him to write a critical letter accusing Janine of being an unsuitable mother. As evidence of how far the battle had progressed, he eventually recanted his statements and claimed the letter was never factual. Through public declarations, denied rumors, and unending tension, the court battle raged. It demonstrated how much suffering can be concealed by fame, even when individuals believe they are aware of the whole situation. Then came Jesse's romance with Sandra Bullock, which more than anything else, music, shaped his public persona. In December 2003, she took her godson to the West Coast Choppers shop to meet him. After a brief courtship, they were married in a low-key wedding in Santa Barbara on July 16, 2005. Their lives combined the gritty world of custom motorcycles with the comfort of Hollywood. And Sandra took on a position that was full of duty and affection. She supported Chandler, Jesse Jr., and Sunny during times that molded their family by embracing them all. One of the best illustrations of Sandra's dedication was the custody dispute over Sunny. Sandra supported Jesse during their battle for full custody when Janine's legal issues in 2008 put the child in the middle. After they won the case, In December 2009, Sandra purchased a house in Austin, Texas, to contribute to the establishment of a stable environment. She became a regular part of the kids' lives, assimilating into their daily schedules and supporting them during challenging times. Despite their best efforts to keep the difficulties hidden, the marriage was plagued by the weight of those obligations, as well as the burden of public scrutiny. When the world found out about Jesse's indiscretions in 2010, the genuine rift occurred. In March, Michelle McGee came out to reveal that she had been seeing him for 11 months. He informed her, she said, that he and Sandra were no longer together. A few more women showed up in a few days. According to Melissa Smith, the 2-year relationship started in 2006. Bright Dare stated that theirs lasted for a whole year. Every new report fueled the flames, and Jesse eventually confessed to regularly cheating. He attributed it to self-destruction, childhood trauma, and what he called a sex addiction. In March 2010, he entered a treatment facility. However, the marriage was irreparably damaged by that point. Sandra ended a chapter that had begun with such promise when she filed for divorce on April 23, 2010. The Jesse James controversy in 2007 began gently before sweeping in like a never-ending tsunami. It started when a senior West Coast Choppers official quit her position in 2007 after alleging Jesse had pursued her for months without permission. She claimed that it occurred in 2006 and 2007, and the specifics were so awkward that she kept a T-shirt as tangible proof of one of the encounters. Jesse never made any admissions. However, he consented to give her $725,000 at the end of 2007. The whole incident was silent for a time, buried in legal documents, even though no lawsuit had been filed. However, when his private life fell apart in front of the public in 2010, everything came crashing back. The settlement abruptly turned into yet another conflagration. The fact that the woman had engaged Gloria Allred, a lawyer who specializes in handling large cases, suggested how serious the matter must have been. The tale felt like a missing component that would have explained the ensuing upheaval by the time the public found out. When an old 2004 photograph of Jesse raising his arm in a salute and sporting what appeared to be a Nazi Waffen-SS cap came to light in 2010, the uproar became even louder. Within hours, the image was published in periodicals, and people began to speculate what it signified and why he would pose that way. According to his attorney, Jesse's Jewish grandpa had made fun of the headgear. Jesse stated that the position was only intended to startle friends. Nevertheless, the timing was exacerbated by the fact that Michelle McGee, one of the women connected to him, had her own pictures in Nazi-themed attire. The whispers persisted even though people started making connections between seemingly unrelated details. In an interview with Nightline, Jesse clarified it once more, stating that the photo was a joke that was taken long before he got married. It made no difference. With his life already in a downward spiral in 2010, the picture only served to increase public indignation and made every headline raise doubts about his true identity. In April 2010, as the scandals mounted, Jesse checked himself into the Sierra Tucson Recovery Center in Arizona. Those close to the matter said he was seeking therapy for sex addiction, but he claimed he needed help for personal problems. It was a rigorous curriculum. Staff said that he was dedicated to the process and that he attended treatment sessions every evening at 6. His desire to salvage what remained of his marriage to Sandra Bullock was evident from the time. Sandra had been at Sierra Tucson, a celebrity treatment facility, years before when she was getting ready for her part in the film 28 Days. Although the marriage had already reached its breaking point, people believed that the rehab stay might make things better. After 5 years together, Sandra filed for divorce in June 2010. The lengthy unraveling that characterized music. Jesse's life that year included rehab as just another chapter. In October 2010, as everything changed, Jesse made a big choice. After 18 years, he closed the first West Coast Choppers store in Long Beach. Once upon a time, it seemed incomparable to the motorcycle community, teeming with motors and brimming with supporters of his creations. Many staff were not informed by him about the news until they heard it from the media. Sales had decreased. The market was overrun by knockoff music elements. Customers have been driven away by scandal after scandal. Jesse left the Long Beach era and relocated to Texas. Music. The closure felt like the end of something significant to many fans. His name seemed oddly empty after witnessing the shop become silent, as West Coast Choppers had been the epicenter of custom bike culture in the U.S. His personal conflicts continued to intensify despite the changes in his firm. Following a violent legal battle with his ex-wife Janine Linda, Jesse was granted physical custody of his daughter Sunny in July 2010. The judge was concerned about her stability because she had just been released from prison after serving time for tax evasion. Janine screamed in the courtroom, pleading for anything that would allow her to remain close to her daughter after the judge decided in Jesse's favor. The court brought up Sunny's missing appointments, therapy problems, and a terrifying incident in which she got lost for almost an hour at a water park. Although the judge rejected the allegations, Janine claimed that Jesse was attempting to undermine her by making visits difficult, and even implied that he may tamper with her meals to rig drug tests. Jesse's life was immediately altered by the decision since it made it possible for him to bring Sunny to Austin. He left a courtroom with a victory for once, but one that was accompanied with suffering and charges from all sides. In an attempt to revive his career, Jesse made a comeback to television in 2012 with a brand new series on the Discovery Channel titled Jesse James Outlaw Garage. However, the comeback was quickly undone. After the first episode of the show, which debuted on November 5, 2012, audiences stopped watching. It was criticized for feeling manufactured, empty, and too much like the previous concerts. Discovery dropped the show after just 3 episodes. In a vehement blog post, Jesse responded to the situation by denouncing the network and accused the creators of phony television. That rage simply made matters worse. Those who had previously applauded him now thought that the enthusiasm had vanished and had been replaced with resentment. The blow demonstrated how far he had fallen from Monster Garage's early days and reverberated throughout the remainder of his career. A show about his Austin speed shop was another attempt to get back on television. It was meant to depict a new beginning, a new setting, and a new group of people surrounding him. Rather, the series was hardly noticeable. Following 3 episodes, it vanished. Much like Outlaw Garage, the audience left. The show, according to critics, never found a spark, and instead repeated old themes. It was quietly removed from the schedule by Discovery. It was evident from the failure that viewers had become tired of the Jesse James brand. The burden of previous scandals caused people to search elsewhere, despite the presence of exquisite automobiles and skilled builders. His attempts to revive his TV career seemed to fall apart at every turn. Jesse attempted something new after all the failures. He used an entirely different strategy to rebuild West Coast choppers in Austin. The Austin shop, located on a 17-acre property, concentrated on producing only 3 or 4 ultra-premium motorcycles annually, rather than large production quantities and mass-market parts. Over 50 people joined the team, and the work slowed down and got more creative. Each bike sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars after months of work. Jesse prioritized legacy and quality before quantity and quickness. The craftsmanship that initially made West Coast choppers unique was something he was working to recover. This new chapter gave him a sense of pride again, even though it never achieved the enormous popularity of the Long Beach years. He was able to work there without being disturbed by television cameras following him. By 2013, Jesse had taken a more drastic turn and entered a completely new universe. In Dripping Springs, Texas, he established Jesse James Firearms Unlimited Music. About 250 people attended the November 2013 inaugural ceremony to witness the initial creations, which included the Nomad AR-15 and the Cisco 1911 pistol. Up to $500 worth of effort was needed to hand-build and hand-fit each rifle. Depending on design, prices ranged from $85,000 to over $250,000. Every piece in the business was constructed by Jesse and master pistolsmith Justin McMillan. The transition from motorcycles to firearms felt drastic to many. However, Jesse handled the guns the same way he handled his previous best motorcycles. Everything is handmade. With attention to detail, everything developed gradually. Almost immediately, the business established a reputation for exclusivity. His most renowned work was inspired by an unexpected aspect of history. An old steel handrail was picked up by a worker performing maintenance on the Statue of Liberty and passed it to Jesse. He created the Lady Liberty Damascus Cisco 1911 handguns out of that ancient metal. There were only ever 3 produced. Before assuming its ultimate form, each one underwent more than 500 hours of effort and evolved into a 400-layer Damascus billet. Each of the firearms sold for $85,000. But in the perspective of collectors, the steel's backstory made it invaluable. People claimed that holding one was like holding a piece of the pulse of America. Jesse frequently said that the steel bore the DNA of the nation's most potent emblem of freedom, treating it as though it were a hallowed thing. But his personal life continued to be turbulent. When he became engaged to tattoo artist Kat Von D in 2010, it briefly appeared as though he had found new stability. However, Kat made a public admission in September 2011 that Jesse had cheated on her with 19 different women while they were together. For her nearly 2 million Facebook fans to see, she scribbled the number herself. The post went viral on the web. The anger was exacerbated when Jesse eventually acknowledged that he took responsibility for his acts and argued that millions of guys cheat. His already damaged public image was further wrecked by the separation. Neither did marriage offer peace. In 2013, Jesse wed drag racer Alexis Dioria. But by 2022, their marriage had broken down. He soon married Bonnie Rotten in June 2022, but their relationship quickly became even more tumultuous. Bonnie made 3 divorce filings, 3 times, in December 2022, November 2024, and January 2025. Every filing included restraining orders, emotional breakdowns, and allegations of assault. Despite their many reconciliations, the conflict cycle persisted. The marriage appeared to be just another one of Jesse's unrelenting storms as the court filings continued to make the rounds in the media. Jesse made another attempt to make a comeback to television in 2021. In January 2021, Monster Garage made a comeback on Discovery Plus, garnering enough interest to inspire optimism for the future. Concurrently, Jesse created UTELW.TV, a streaming service that allowed him to manage his shows independently of a network. He also introduced Jesse James Bourbon, expanding his brand beyond guns and motorcycles. Even with all of the scandals and setbacks, his predicted net worth was $50,000 by 2026. It demonstrated how tenaciously he put himself back together despite the several times he failed. Despite his accomplishments, he continued to run into problems. After waiting 6 years for a bespoke rifle, a buyer sued him for $75,000 in November 2024. Jesse retaliated by saying that the customer owed him $90,000 because the gun was finished and worth $250. Delays and violated promises were alleged by both parties. Although the case is still pending, it exposed the dangers associated with handcrafted guns that need years to manufacture. Jesse James lives in extremes, as the case became yet another reminder. He invests months or perhaps years crafting his creations. When anything goes wrong, it doesn't happen halfway. They constantly make mistakes, and everyone knows about it.